Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. We open in the middle of the woods with two young girls being all vulnerable. Annabelle steps away to grab some flowers when a hooded figure sneaks up on her mortified friend and hypnotizes her. Dr. Marcus is passing by and sees an unresponsive girl standing in the forest, so he approaches to see what's wrong. Annie points out her dying friend, who is now an old woman, having been drained of her youth by the mysterious stranger. The next day, Annie's younger sister Isabella receives a bracelet for her birthday and goes off alone to fetch some flowers. Not sure what it is with these flowers that every girl in this village keeps risking their lives for them, but Bella's hypnotized and made to dribble a bit of blood. At night she staggers back home, where her parents only recognize the old woman as their daughter by her birthday present. Marcus decides to enlist a retired Imperial guard named Kronos, who sews his initial into his captain's coat and dual wields a katana with a saber. He's now a hunter of all things supernatural and travels the land with his hunchback companion Hieronymus Grost. They come across an imprisoned gypsy on the edge of town, so Kronos releases her because her only crime is dancing on a Sunday. Carla repays her savior by kissing his ring and then follows him around for the rest of the film like a little side piece. There's a moment where she offers her services if he'll have her, and Kronos says, "Oh, I'll have you," and we get an innuendo close-up of the eyes. However, they only have 2 blankets, so she needs to find her own place to sleep at night because Kronos isn't sharing his. Arriving the next morning, Kronos rides into the courtyard and just begins shouting Marcus's name.
Marcus?
Local man Pointer asks what he wants with the doctor, but Kronos just leans in and shouts Marcus again in his face. It turns out these two are close friends from the army, and Kronos says that he believes this to be a vampire that Marcus is dealing with. Although skeptical, Grost explains that not all types of Nosferatu drink blood, some just drain young girls' life force. He says that there are as many species of vampire as there are beasts, and each one comes with a different method to slay. Meanwhile, Isabella's mother Vanda mourns her passing, then goes to the village chapel to pray. There's a cool effect where the vampire shadow looks like a cross and beckons over the grieving mother before draining her life. Kronos gets news of the attack, so along with his little Scooby gang they ride over to the chapel, where Vanda's looking like a dried up prune. The hunters begin burying dead frogs around the forest, and if any of them resurrect, it means that the undead has passed over them. Meanwhile, Marcus visits the graveyard when a wealthy young socialite pulls up for the 7-year anniversary of his father's death. The late Lord Hagen was the greatest warrior in the land, while his son Paul is just a rich kid who takes care of his sickly mother. Marcus notes that she looks incredibly old for her age, but Paul doesn't allow the doctor to inspect her and just takes her home. Elsewhere, a couple are off fornicating when the woman walks home alone, full well knowing that there's a killer on the loose. Her boyfriend hears a scream and comes running, but she's already been drained of her life and left an old bloody-lipped corpse. The night before, Kronos and the merkin wearing Carla boned in the barn, and they get woken in the morning with news of the attack. The blabbering boyfriend is of no help, so Kronos goes to inspect the frogs, and wouldn't you know it, one of these little suckers is hopping around again. Fresh carriage tracks lead away from the crime scene, so the group follow them while Marcus diverts to visit Paul at the Durward estate. They share a drink and the doctor notices a book of witchcraft, but the suspicious hermit insists that it's just some light reading. Marcus remarks that Paul's sister Sara looks noticeably younger than last time, but it might not be supernatural and he could just be flirting. When the doctor leaves, the creepy siblings begin feeding each other grapes and go to check on their mother, who looks like 200 years old. Down the road, local bully Kerro has just finished with some poor working girl who gets shortchanged in more ways than one. When one of the bar patrons doesn't laugh at his jokes, he beats him to the draw of his sword and forces the ginger nut to crack a smile. Once Kerro is satisfied with a laugh, he lets the man go when Pompous personified struts up to the bar. Barlow is looking for thugs to hire on behalf of Lady Durward and pays Kerro to kill Kronos when he arrives. As the vampire hunters approach the bar, Kerro targets Kronos with accusations of being a deserter and Grost with having a crooked back. He's 50% correct, so Kronos fights fire with fire by calling these 3 rat-faced Big Mouth and Fatty. Just then Big Mouth draws his sword, so Kronos cuts all 3 of them down and even sheathes his katana before the dead men know they're dead. The hunter then asks the less than impressed bartender if any carriages have passed, but he hasn't seen any in a long time. That means that the only place it could have gone is to the Durward estate, where Marcus is currently leaving. He encounters the cloaked figure standing in the middle of the path, only he doesn't get drained and instead turned into a vampire himself. Unsure of what just happened, Marcus returns to the group where Kronos is receiving a treatment of bloodletting to sober him up. Grost set up a network of bells in the woods to alert them when the vampire arrives, and they all wait around for it. Lillian comes strolling through, setting off every alarm in the pursuit of eggs, but at least it isn't flowers this time. When the lady gets hypnotized by the vampire, this one is in the form of a bat, and the little sucker mauls Lillian to death. The hunters run to the scream but are too late as the bat has flown away, leaving behind only a corpse and some bloody eggs. That night Kronos tells a well-shagged Carla that he became a vampire hunter after returning home from the war and finding his family were bloodsuckers. Marcus has come to the realization he's a vampire by his questionably youthful appearance and bursts in to ask Kronos for help. Upon seeing his fangs, the captain knocks him unconscious and drags Marcus back across the street to his house. He ties him to a chair and everyone, including the vampire himself, is asking Kronos to kill him, but that's easier said than done. They hammer a long wooden stake into his heart, but it doesn't affect Marcus like a traditional vampire, nor does he even bleed. Next they try to hang him, but the doctor just dangles for a bit, goes unconscious, then wakes up when lowered down. Finally Grost grabs some fire and Marcus gets startled for a moment before reverting back to his older self and dying. It wasn't the fire, but Kronos accidentally pierced the vampire's chest with a cross made of steel, which gives us our means to killing the vampire. Pointer witnesses this, so assuming the strangers have just murdered Marcus, the villagers form a posse to get revenge. While Kronos and Grost obtain a large iron cross from a cemetery, Carla alerts them to the mob approaching. When they attack, Kronos basically just does a few spins and the whole dozen or so collapse to the ground. He then conducts a nightly vigil, which means he just sits there all night with a handkerchief over his head while Carla uses him for a pillow. During this time Grost forges the cross into a sword, and when he announces its creation, Kronos gets up so fast Carla's head hits the pavement. Meanwhile Annie must be about the last girl left in town by now and speaks with her brother Barton about when will father be returning. Apparently never, because just outside a carriage runs him down and Kronos comes across the man dead soon after. The bold vampire then walks directly into Anne's home, killing the last of the family as Kronos hears their screams from the road. By the time he reaches it, the carriage is already pulled away and Grost confirms there's a vampire inside when one of the frog specimens comes back to life. Since it was the Durward's carriage, Kronos thinks Sara is the vampire because Marcus saw her only moments before he was turned. Presumably he doesn't suspect the brother because he's such a dweeb, nor the mother because she doesn't look like she's draining anyone's youth. The hunters get prepared for battle by drawing crosses on their necks and wearing bracelets made from a protective Chinese herb. Grost has fashioned a reflective surface that fits onto the sword so that Kronos can reflect the vampire's gaze. Carla volunteers herself to act like a woman trying to escape from an arranged marriage in order to gain access to the Durward manor. She distracts the siblings with her story while Kronos sneaks inside the mother's bedroom with a grappling hook. When Paul and Sara go to sleep, Carla's left alone downstairs where Lady Durward appears to have gotten out of bed and hypnotizes her. Kronos lands on the mother's bed to discover the face was just a mask as the kids come downstairs to find their mother is a youthful-looking vampire. She reveals that she also resurrected their father Hagen, and the siblings are mortified, but their mother just hypnotizes them as well. They're left stuck in a trance while mother plans to feed the new arrival to her husband, but Kronos leaps out to save her. He throws up his sword, reflecting the vampire's gaze back at her, and Lady Durward is frozen just like her children and Carla. Kronos begins a duel with Hagen, who soon realizes that the sword he wields made from the cross is able to draw blood. Their sword fight spans the entire room until they take it onto the table where Kronos is disarmed of his vampire killer. He uses the man's children as human shields because screw these grape-sharing siblings, and picks up another sword that isn't made with cemetery steel. It skewers straight through Hagen, who's unfazed, but somehow Grost managed to climb his hunchback, having self up that rope. He tosses Kronos the forged sword and he runs it through Lord Durward, causing him to collapse to the ground an old man once again. The blood-crying Lady Durward snaps out of her trance and upon seeing her dead husband goes at Kronos, but he just stabs her too. With her death, the rest of the hypnotized are freed and the rapidly aging mother collapses onto her husband's decaying skeleton. Kronos throws the sword away since it probably won't work on the next one and departs with Grost to fight more evil wherever it might be. He bids Carla goodbye with some weird hand gesture instead of just a handshake or something and rides off to new adventures. And the movie ends.